everyone, thanks for joining me for today's writing tip. I'm Staci Mauney, co-owner, editor, and writer at PrestigeProse.com. Today, at the request of author Dee Britt, I'm starting a series on point of view. Dee is the author of FIRESIDE, the James Johnson story, and it's available at all major retailers, so make sure you check it out. This is my first video in a 5-part series. I wanted to find the most used points of view in fiction, which are first person, third person limited, third person omniscient, and deep point of view. Then in my final video, I'll go into greater detail about what you don't want to do and what you should do instead. But first, let's define point of view. It's the lens or character through which your story is told. First person is told using I and me pronouns. First person gives the reader a front row seat to the story. When you use a first person narrator, you must tell the story in the voice of the character telling the tale. The main limitation of the first person narrative is that the narrator has to be present at all the key scenes. The easiest way to do this is to make your narrator the protagonist. An example is author Conan Doyle's Sherlock Holmes series. Author Conan Doyle made Watson the narrator instead of Sherlock because using Watson as the narrator allowed Doyle to withhold information from the audience without being unfair, and also listening to Sherlock's arrogant tone throughout the story would probably have turned the reader off to him. So that's one example of using first person. Benefits of the first person narrative include that it lends credibility to your story. It brings an eyewitness feel that seems factual rather than fictional, which makes it good for thrillers and crime fiction. It also allows you to express an opinion, and it builds intrigue because it limits the reader's perspective. The reader only knows what the narrator knows. Some drawbacks to first-person narrative include your first-person narrator can't be a bore or your story's going to be boring. She can't describe herself doing noble acts or she'll be seen as vain, similar to the situation with Sherlock and his arrogance. Difficult scenes such as a tragedy, a loss of a child, something like that can't be described adequately through the first-person narrator's eye. In this case, giving the first-person narrator a good friend or family member to describe the scene would be helpful. Here are some tips for writing in first person. Let the reader know right away that you're using first person. Introduce the narrator's voice within the first couple of paragraphs to create a bond between the narrator and the reader. Stay in character. Don't slip into your own voice or that of another character. Create a strong narrator with a strong voice and interesting backstory that influences their perspective. Include strong secondary characters who can support, challenge, inspire, and bring out the qualities of your narrator that you want your reader to know. Don't start every sentence with I. Include action, thoughts, feelings to deepen the story and break up the monotony. Some people don't like to read or write in first person. I, however, have always liked the way first person brings you in close and allows you to get to know the narrator. Have you written a story in first person? Are there any tips that you would add? Please share in the comments. And if this video was helpful for you, please click like and subscribe for more great content, and stay tuned for my next video on third person limited. Thanks for watching and happy writing.